How are we doing? Hi, Maxine. Sorry about that. Sorry for my momentary lateness. The bracket that I attached to my iPad on is attached to a shelf that decided to come loose. So, you know, I just hit it with something really heavy. So hopefully all should be well. It's just never easy with me, is it? What can I say? Oh, well. Okie dokie. So tonight we are going to be doing some art journaling. I feel like I haven't done any art journaling in this book for ages, and I was like, this was going to be my new one for the new year. But then I found my other one, and I've been doing mini journaling, we've been scrapbooking and all this sort of thing. I mean, and that's fantastic, because what it meant was we weren't getting samey, were we? But I think it's time to head back, and I think one of the best things we can do here is we're going to have a little go with the new Ledger Catalyst cards. Now, using the... Sorry, I'm just going to zoom in just a little bit. Just get rid of the sides of my desk. That was a little bit much. Sorry, how it shows on my iPad is not how it is for real, so it's not until it catches up. There we go, that'll do. So yes, what I do want to do is I want to make sort of like a junk journal with some of the Ledger Catalyst cards, and this is from Catalyst card set number 4. I'm going to be using the A5s. Okay, so these are the Ledger. So this is Catalyst card set number 4. Hi, Alison. All right, so I do want to have a go at making a junk journal. I've never made one before, but I think these will be rather fabulous. But I did think it would be nice to have a go with these in my little pink book that was going to be for this year, because I thought I'd lost the other one. And I've got some art stamps to use as well, so we should have plenty to be going on with. All right, so the first thing we're going to have to do is chop down our sheet to match. Now, in this A5 book, it's a funny measurement, but because for this one, what I'm trying to do, something new and exciting for me, is keep these clean edges. All right, so as you can see, I'm cutting down either pages I make. Sorry, I'm about to sneeze. Hang on. Sorry, I knew there was another one. Is to cut down the sizes to just give this nice even border around the edge. Okay, and as you can see, that's a theme I am continuing with, because I think it looks nice. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to go into here, and I'm going to select... Which one shall I pick? It doesn't really matter. Hey, would you like to see, she says, the journal that these have come from? Oh, I've put it away. The ledger that I've put it away. I will do that another time. I think we're going to go for that one, because it's got lots of lovely writing on it. Okay. What was important for me when I did these is that I didn't clean the pages. I wanted them to have that sort of aging look. You know, they're from the 1920s. It was really important that they look as vintage as they are, really. Okay, so we're going to trim this down. And the beauty of doing your art journal in this way is, for example, if you're art journaling in a notebook, like I am in this one, this is whether you're working in a page, a lined one or a squared one or whatever, the pages do tend to be lighter. You know, in terms of, you know, they can't necessarily take a lot of ink technique or things like that. So by doing it this way, it means you're keeping it quite stable. Now, I have still taken out quite a lot of the centres of the signatures, because if we're layering card and paper in, you know, you need to make sure you've got room for that. So now I can't remember my measurements, and I can't remember, and I've used my ruler to wedge my shelf back on. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a pen or some mark making device. I'm just going to doesn't have to be perfect. It's only an ish. Okay. How are we all though? Are we all having a fabulous day? I have been going through this year's lives that we've been doing right here on YouTube today. I've cut off my mark. Should have done that way first. Yeah, I've been going through the lives from 2025. I will go further back, but I think I might as well start nearest and work my way back. And what I've been doing is I've been adding the lives to the products on the website. Now, as a lot of you know, we had a new website in the last year or so. And in fairness, I'm still finding a lot of the fantastic features that we can use. Do you know what I mean? They're not... See, doesn't that look lovely in there? Now, obviously, I know I've got this pink and blue that's leaked through from here. I'm not going to worry about that. We'll just cover that up with something else after, okay? So we're going to work on that. Brilliant. Because the problem is, you see, if I skip a page, I'll end up not coming back to it. Okay, so from here, we're going to go to my stamped ephemera boxes. Now, these took a little bit of a beating last week when I was doing Caitlin's scrapbook page. So I used a lot of the flowers and a lot of things from them. But what it also did was it made me think, maybe I need to restructure how I organise them and things like that. So what I have done... Sorry, my live went off. Now I can't see comments. Oh well, sorry, I can't see the comments at the minute. So what I've done is I've sort of recategorized the boxes, because I used to have a doodle art, an art stamps, the faces and so on and so forth. But what I have done is I have changed it up just a little. Okay, so I've got now flowers, birds, insects, that sort of thing. Collage and catalyst card cutouts, and then the clocks are still in that one because I've still got quite a few of them to go. Sorry, I am just trying to find it. Hopefully, somebody write a comment to see if I've got comments back. So what we need to do is we need to pick something to go on our ledger page. All right, so let's open these up and we're going to have a look, see what we're going to mix it in. Now, I am automatically drawn to a few of the clocks, so do you know what? We're going to take a few of those out. Do you know what? We'll start with the black and white ones. Okay, and then I'm not worried about the catalyst card cutouts just yet, so we'll put that one to the side. And then from here, I feel like we need a nice focal image, and we'll sort of go for some of the birds and butterflies on here, and then we'll bring some flowers in. Do you know what? I've changed my mind on the clocks. The reason being, the page it's opposite is using the clock, so I might keep a couple out just in case. Aside from that, we're going to get that. And I've only got, look, I've got so few journal elements, but they might be enough. Journaling essentials and things. Okay. Hiya, Shaz. Yeah, see, I'm not seeing any of these comments at all. See, I honestly thought I had cracked YouTube then, because I managed to put a like schedule the post and get it to open, which I haven't done before, which never seems to work. And this time it did. Oh, there you are. Alrighty, that's better. Sorry. One day. One fine day. Well, see, that sort of works with that. shall we get a lot of the dragonflies from the dragonfly set out? And then maybe that. Ooh. Hi, Dominique! Maybe one of these. Because I was actually thinking something like a rainbow bird. But you know me and my Doodle Art Dragonfly. Just never fails to please, really. What have we got in here? All the different flowers. So in here I've got flowers from Journaling Essentials, Sketchy Flowers, Doodle Art Flowers. They're all sort of mixed in. Because when I'm looking for a flower, I'm not necessarily, you know, leaning in. I'm just going to pick out a few. Do you know what? We'll just keep that out. I think we'll go with the dragonfly. All right. So I've selected my dragonfly, which means we're going to be working with these sort of colours. Can't wait. Absolutely lovely. I'm going to get a blending mat. I really need to wash my blending mats again. So that's going to have to be this one, which is fine. And then we'll take those strips out of the way. I'm just going to mop up that green here. But that blue that's here, I'm going to use that because obviously we have a blue on here anyway. So we might as well use that instead of, you know, wiping it up and then getting another blue out. So I'm just going to add some of this. Now, these are great for adding your water techniques too, because you, although it's a really lightweight cardstock, they do hold up really well. The design does not move at all. But something you will notice as well that's quite fun is the printing on it. Not only does it not move, it will actually resist your water-based inks. So it means you don't have to worry about them being covered up. Obviously with your Distress oxides and paints, you will, but what you will find is the more you water those down, the more the printing will resist, which is excellent. Okay, so, and this is, I mean, just, you know, if you think of doing that in the vintage ones. Now, of course, we do this catalyst card in the grayscale as well. So if you would prefer to have it, you know, because this does have the original sort of pinky red lines of the ledger. And if that's not something you're after, you know, you can go for the grayscale ones and then just build up whichever colours you want. Okay, so this, I would say, is done with a lovely picked raspberry oxide. So I'm going to do exactly the same again. I'm doing my colours individually rather than blending because I want, as much as possible, these three colourways, sort of the pink, the bluer colour and the yellow. I want them distinguished. Now, obviously, you're going to get some mixing. I'm not a complete womble. I do appreciate that. But as much as possible, I want them all to stand out on their own. Okay, which is why I'm drying between smushes. Yeah, so for example, hi Maggie. Hi. So for example, if you go to, what was I using last week? Yeah. So if you go to, for example, the Catalyst card that I was using last week, which was the Grayscale number 3A5. Okay. If you click on that product and open up like just the page for just that product and click along the way, you'll get a link straight to the video. So I'm trying to add some in for as many products as I can, but obviously, as you can imagine, once you start going through, you realise how many that you can't remember the last time you used in a specific video. You know, you might have used them in a reel or something, but not necessarily in a, for want of a better description, a full-time YouTube. Oh my goodness, this is so pretty. All the plans I had for it are now in doubt because it just looks so beautiful. I just want that to be a backing card now, and I don't want to do anything else on top. Dagnammit. But no, I shall power through. But we will just take a moment to look upon the gloriousness. It's so pretty. And I think having that ledger in the background, also, it just takes away from it being a blank sheet. I think that's one of the reasons I like the grayscale ones as well. I mean, I've done a couple of Try It Out Tuesdays in a row now using the grayscale ones. So if you've missed those, do go back and have a look. Because they sort of give you that opportunity. I'm starting to think the yellow on that dragonfly is a bit more of a pinky fossilised amber, but I think it'll be okay. Yeah, so what I'm doing is I'm just doing like a quick smush, as you can see, and then almost trying to set it in place straight away. Okay. Oh, a little bit more down that side. You know me, it doesn't have to be perfectly dry, I just need it to be dry enough. Dry enough is an actual thing around here. Okay? So you can see all that beautiful inky splatty colour. Stunning. Okay? And I do think, for example, if I just grab that book, my book back in here right now, when you see it against the border, it makes it look even better. Just having that outline just shows how much it pops. Stunning. Okay. So we're going to add a little bit more to that. So I'm just going to grab one of my smaller blending mats. These are out of stock at the minute. We've only got the big ones, I'm sorry. But I've got another big one anyway because all my little ones are dirty. Right. And on to... Ooh, I think I'm going to add some of this tag. This is from Inkables tag set number 4. And I'm going to go in with... I'm sorry, I'm just going to keep that there a second. Helps me work out what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in with some prize ribbon. I'm just going to work that in because I don't want it to be overpowering. And I'm going to line up my circle so it's over the corner. And again, I want it to be quite light so you can see it there, but it's not there. Okay. So it just gives a hint. But what that does is it then gives you the stencil, effectively, to get your Posca. So you don't have to think about where it's going. And then we're going to add in some white details. I know I'm adding white details in at the beginning. Sometimes it's important, if you think, oh, I want white details to go there, we'll do them now, because something I do a lot is I get caught up in the creativity of it, which is kind of the point, you know. And then I'll forget that that's what I wanted to do. You'll have heard me say it on many a live, I'm sure. So because I've already put my little hand-drawn hearts on my dragonfly, I'm now trying to make these all the one, so that they're made to go together. Not that it has to be like that, of course. All right, I want something like, I'm going to go for my number 3 6x6 mandala. Okay, but what I want is I just want a couple of the petals, and I'm going to use it inside its frame so that I don't go away and over. I'm going to grab, hi Rachel, did I already say hi Rachel? Hi Rachel, hi Karen. I'm going to go in with my picked raspberry. Again, we're just picking up a couple of the accents. I'm not going for total coverage. Just to give it a little hint that it's there. Lovely. Okay, and then I think what I might do is I'm going to actually grab a wild honey. And I know I said about sticking to the colours on there, but no, not a wild honey. A dried marigold, quite a pale orange. Okay, and I'm just going to work that in around some of the edges. I don't want it to have all one colour around the edge, so it's just in a couple of places where there's a gap. Alrighty, right, now we're going to add in some more to the backgrounds. We are going to use The Time Is Free, and I think we'll use some mixed leaves, and let's have a little look. Ooh, maybe some sketchy flowers. Okay, now the beautiful thing about this background is, because a lot of the time when I make inky smush backgrounds with stamping on thing, is if I'm using an image that I've stamped in black, I then have to make sure I incorporate black somewhere. For me, at least, I'm not saying you have to. For me, I then feel I have to incorporate black somewhere. But because the handwriting is in black, I feel like that's covered. So I don't have to. It means if I want to, I can, but I don't have to, which is fantastic. Okay. So I'm going to grab the middle one. So with the Time Is Free stamp set, there's sort of an advancing stage of bouginess with all the clocks. Okay, so for example, the top one's quite simple. The middle one gets a bit more frilly. and then the bottom one gets a lot more frilly. Okay, so advancing stages of bouginess. Now, these don't have to stamp perfectly. Again, we're just sort of, we're giving an impression that they're there. And then I'm going to go in with the little cog. Sorry, I put all my, sorry for reaching across you. I've put all my Super Skinny Slims away in an attempt to clear my desk. Not clear my desk, but you know. Make it just a touch more clear than it was before. All right, now, the Sketchy Flowers. The one I'm really particularly interested in using is this stem here. Now, I like to fussy cut out my Sketchy Flowers a lot. This one is not as much fun, I won't lie to you. It's very fussy in the fussy cutting arena. Like these, easy peasy, lemon of the squeezy. This one, it's not easy, but it's okay. This one, you need a knife. You need a craft knife to do it well. And that just automatically seems like a lot of effort. I have done it. I do it. I think it looks beautiful when it's done. But crikey O'Reilly. Just a little bit of leafiness on there, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna advance on that using the mixed leaves. But I think I am just gonna go with this one here. And again, I'm going to go in with the prize ribbon just off that edge. Okay, I think I'm just going to use that big one actually, just to... a little bit different on the corners. Okay, I'm going to take that away before I rub my arm in it, and I'm just going to get again, I'm going to grab my Posca back. I'm just going to add a little bit of white detail, or even sort of go around these leaves, almost just to highlight them a little. So they're not lost. Do the same. These ones up here. Again, if this is not something you feel confident doing, it's, you know, it's absolutely fine. If you want to do it with a finer pen, you know, with a bit more control over it, would totally understand that too. Some dots down that bigger leaf. Okay, I think we need to stick it in so that we can start layering other things on top. Okay. And this is the thing, the Catalyst cards were never, it was never supposed to be necessarily a replacement. However, it is for those that want it to be, for the inkiness. But they are really, they're literally supposed to be the catalyst for your creativity. So whether that's your card making, you know, you're covering MDF, you know, your art journal, your scrapbook pages, just to give you that leaping off point, because I honestly think one of the hardest things some days is getting started. And if you can have that. Okay, so for example, tonight, I knew I wanted to use a catalyst card and I knew I wanted to use the ledger. Okay, so that was my leaping off point as far as that goes. But in terms of my colours and things like that, that was, you know, up for discussion. Which is why, again, having the stamped ephemera ready. Which is what me and Rachel do most Friday. Rachel always joins me on a Friday on TikTok. And we make stamped ephemera on a Friday. Okay, so I'm just going to line this up. And I'm going to get a piece of black card. So just so I don't get smudges over everything that might not be dry yet. I know who I am. Okay. And then you have this beautiful page layered up and ready to then add more to. Okay. I didn't do my faux stitch. There's my pen. Because I have done it on every single one. So now I have to continue. But should I do it in white or black? I'll do it in black. I haven't done any stamping in the background on black. I'm going to do it in black. So has anyone else had the chance to be creative yet today? Or is Tuesday still early in the week? I'm going to say Sally's challenge is also live in the Bee Crafty Stamps group. So if you're looking for another sort of prompt, the challenge is a really good way to do that. You can enter it 3 times. So you could always sort of challenge yourself saying, right, I'm going to enter 3 times. I'm going to do a card, an art journal page, and an ATC. You know, set yourself little challenges. You know, I bought the clock stamps, you know, say you bought the clock stamp when they were released and you haven't used them yet. I'm going to use those for the challenge. It generally works if you have a competitive nature. I'm my favourite person to beat. Haha, I won. And it's like, yeah, but you won against yourself. But I think that's good. All right. Right, now my biggest issue is... I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here. Now my biggest issue is I don't want to stick anything on it. But I think it's obvious why. You know, it is lovely. That's why. Just leave it like that. Look at the beautiful thing I have created. That's all. No, it's not really. Right. So we're going to have a little play around with some things. I'm wondering if using these... I do like to use things on adjacent pages because I feel it just brings everything together really nicely. But I just wonder, is that just a bit too much? So this is where your fussy cut pieces can test out for their place. See if they're worthy. Audition for it, if you will. Do you know what I mean? See if they are worthy. Oh, I've got one of those left over from last week. And that's exactly the right colours. Old up. What else have I got left over from last week? In the word of Bob Hoskins in Hook, I think I'm having an epiphany. Well, no, he says an apostrophe. I think I've just had an apostrophe. Lightning has just struck my brain. Oh, yes. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think it's a bit much. But that's why I like it so much. So I was going to say, I've got to layer something up here. For my... They are just from a spare piece. I feel like that's going to need something white behind it to lift it up away from the page. Maybe I'll do like don't like those. So I'm just looking at it on. I think that might be too big. Not sure about the bloom and bloom. Might that be just enough? I'm not really sure. Sorry. See, and this is what happens. So we're going to take, what about that one there? I've only got a transparency print one. I don't think that's right. Let me just snip that off. And do we just let them be? I personally think that's it. There. What do we think? Give me a yay or nay before I stick it down. So the dragonfly is actually, the word is actually on the dragonfly set on the website. So that isn't on a wordage set, that is actually in with your dragonfly stamps. And you have all these ones here. Haha, which I have neglected. I've got this moth. Sam is still petitioning to be made big. I have lots of ideas, it's just getting to them. See, if I had another one of the little ones, I might put it in the middle. And then, see, that one there, it just sort of gives it, you know, you almost see this one first, and then you notice the coloured one layered in. Yeah, I think that's the one for me. I think that's the one for me. Okay. So, let's start layering them up. So what I'll do, you see, is I'll start, once I've decided where everything's going to go, I'll start with the outer ones that are on their own first, because that way that secures their place, and if I start fidgeting around with other stuff later, it's not going to disturb them. Okay, so... Right, this is where I get nervous for moving anything. Right, so that's on the top, so that doesn't, so we know where that goes. So that there. One there. I'm actually really chuffed to have used this one because, like I say, this one I sort of stamped and watercoloured last week. And then when it got a bit too indiscriminate, I then stamped over it again in black. So I'm just going to poke that down into the middle there. So that one's resting in amongst. Now, I will say, I do think that would also make a beautiful card front. You know, on an A5 card. So, so this is normally when I lift it up higher, but as I've already zoomed in, you can see. And and you can see where I'm saying I like to bring in elements from maybe this one into this one, just not so that they're the so that they're different sides of the same coin. Okay, absolutely beautiful. I love art journaling. It just opens up your creativity. So, like I say, there is Sally's challenge up in the Bee Crafty Stamps group on Facebook. I will be live on TikTok on Friday. Sam is live on Thursday in Crafting Together with All Brands. Please, if you see anything Bee Crafty, interact with it in some way, because what that does is it tells the algorithms on all of these different social media platforms that you want to see more Bee Crafty stuff, because unfortunately those algorithms do need a little bit of a helping hand. Okay, so if you want to, even though you might be following us and you've liked the page and everything, if you see something, interact with it in some way, because then it might show you the next thing. Because I know I'm still getting a lot of reports of, oh, well, I follow the page but I don't see anything. You have to interact with it for that to happen. Okay, so Sam has put all the links in the chat for the products I've used tonight. What I will do now is I will make sure I go straight into the description and put in all the other products for you. If you haven't treated yourself to some of the Catalyst card number 4, which is the ledgers, you should definitely do that. They're absolutely beautiful to work with, and as you can see, make brilliant backgrounds. And they don't have to be vintage. I think the thing is, you look at them and think, oh, they have to be vintage styling. Absolutely not. They just create a wonderful background. So I'm so glad we did add those in as Catalyst cards number 4. All right then, guys, thank you so much for joining me this evening. Do make sure that if you make anything with Bee Crafty Stamps and you do put it on any of your social media, do tag us in it, and I will make sure I leave you a comment. All right then, guys. Bye.